We next headed north up into the Alps and landed in the region, the Drôme region, at the base of the Alps, to visit a CFPPA, which is in the region of Die or Die. There are 3 pastoral programs of the CFPPA, which in general is adult continuing education center, a network of these schools that are serving folks for vocational training and continuing education and different career paths pertaining to agriculture and forestry. These centers have been established by the French Ministry of Agriculture and are supported through government aid. There are, again, 3 pastoral programs with different focuses. One is the Alpine dairy herder. One is a transhumanant herder, a shepherd in the Pyrenees, and the other one is also a herder in a different region, and they all have different emphasis on either species or production of, say, dairy from a cow, or through the management of the sheep for seasonal shepherding circuits. There's a little bit about the and kind of an overall general. Less than 20 trainees per cohort. The average age range is, between 24-45 years old. But as you can see, historically, ages have ranged from teenagers all the way up into the folks in their 60s. Cost between 6,000 7,000 euros. Many of the tuitions are fully paid for based on the context of the trainee. And about 80% of trainees from the specific program of the High Mountain Herder training go on to work as grazers professionally in the field. So we got to visit D, and these were the emphasis of the program at D. We were able to survey an administrator who was able to kind of break down the curriculums of the alpine management of the sheep and the cattle. A part of this was learning how to live in an alpine setting, which is something very important to point out, is that there's not just technical training and experience on the ground, but how to live within the context of your lifestyle, being living in elevation and living remotely and by yourself. One of the other programs is focused on the dairy production. Again, a big part of this training is apprenticeship and working with folks who are already experienced. Ecology and vegetation management is a part of this training, which is very important, as well as how to use the equipment and maintain the equipment when you're up there. This program in particular is a little over 1,300 hours and goes from March to October. And this is another of their training, which is in the Pyrenees. Herding, driving with dogs is a part of this training. Of course, animal husbandry, reproduction, things like this, very important. Pastoralism in the context historically, moving animals seasonally in that transhumanant context. And mountain route maintenance, how do you maintain the spaces in which you're moving your animals in circuits. And then there's it's a 2-year program with the professional development project at the very end. So again, these schools are focused and marrying the technical experience with the practical experience with the direction of vocation. While we were up there close to the Alps, we decided to go head up and It was winter time, so of course we got to get some snow. We weren't quite sure if our old van was going to make it up there, but fortunately, with some shepherding of a new friend, Christophe Galleron, an artist and a collaborator of Maison du Berger, we were able to get up there to visit Maison du Berger, which is translated as the House of the Shepherd. It's an incredible place. It's a center that celebrates pastoralism around the world and within the region. It's an education center. Young folks come in for different presentations and really get to learn the lifestyle of the shepherd and the tradition and what it looks like in current context there, as well as around the world. It acts as an institution and a cultural service for the world in the region of Champsoa. This was quite the experience. So this is an example, just a screenshot from their website of one of the exhibitions, which is this particular one is really talking about the challenges of a changing tradition. Profession. Was really inspiring just to see how saturated all of the information and resources there were specific to the work of living on the land with animals and managing what it looks like managing open spaces and the history of, and then looking into the future, how is it transitioning. It's really incredible to have so much information in one place. We were kindly welcomed into the Maison du Berger, and they were equally excited to know that there are folks out there like us in California and the United States very excited about the preservation of this type of work and also the proliferation and the growing of grazers throughout the world, and how do we train them. It was here that we were able to meet somebody very significant in the culture and community of shepherds within the region. Andre Leroy, he's been a shepherd of 40 years. He's raised 2 of his children up in the Alpine of the Alps with his wife, and he's managed to be not only a steward of this landscape that works directly with the managers of the national parks, but has been an educator and a mentor and really a holder of wisdom of the landscapes of the Pyrenees, of the Alp region. And he is testament to the importance of the transfer of experience and wisdom on a landscape through teaching directly. He has of course noted his circuits that he takes his animals and whatnot, but it's quite challenging, if you could imagine being a shepherd looking at a map when you have all of this terrain. And so Andre is one who holds a lot of the wisdom of the region of how shepherding and moving these animals and through various landscapes and protecting them through predators. He holds a lot of that wisdom, and we were able to interview him. Christophe Galleron is an artist, storyteller, and he works in all kinds of mediums, and also had a exhibition at the Maison du Berger telling the story of his ancestor who was a shepherd and went to America and continued on in his work. This was a poster of his exhibition, and he was of great help in introducing us to the various people of this culture and of Maison du Berger and Andre, and was able to share his work that also celebrates this wonderful work. This was in the chalet, just a small little apartment that they let the shepherds stay in when they're in transition from the high elevation in seasonal change. And this was in the boiler room. Sheep are everywhere. This was our discussion with Andre, with Christophe as our helper. What I couldn't express in French or Spanish, Guido and I were able to translate in the images that we brought of our work, and showing what our work looks like with bringing sheep and goats into urban scenes. And Andre definitely got a kick out of it, because it's definitely something he doesn't experience in the Alps, but it was very important to have that cross-cultural exchange. Again, the Maison du Berger is an incredible resource for shepherds within the region, but also in educating folks who come far and wide to learn about how important grazing is to the history of managing these landscapes, and also the culture and the people. And these are a few of the brochures that I picked up that I just thought were so awesome. And as you can see on the left, with all of the different collaborators and members of that support this work, you have the EU, you have all of these regional organizations that celebrate the value of this. I thought this was extra cool. I love the illustration depicting, what visitors might find out on the road. You have the guard dog out there. You have kind of this idea of the high country and the low country. Pretty awesome. Guido and I were especially thrilled to have visited the Maison.